Hi, Dan Goodstein here with RPA AI. Thanks for joining for today's session expert interview series. Today I'm joined by Sudhanshu Sawlani. He's the head of Robotics and Intelligent Automation at ING Bank. Sudhanshu, nice to see you again.
Hi, Dan. Nice to see you indeed. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks for being here. So before we jump in, give everybody a little bit about your background and your role there at ING.
So, my name is Sudhanshu Sawlani, based in Amsterdam, working for ING Bank, ING Wholesale Banking arm of the bank, and my role is head of Robotics and Intelligent Automation for the wholesale banking part, wherein we are serving our commercial banking clients. We service our corporate clients into 42 different countries. So, it's a large scope. And we have 4 big shared service operation centers that are under our scope, mainly in the Philippines, Romania, Poland, and Slovakia. And my role is basically to support and provide robotics and intelligent automation solutions all across wholesale banking, which basically covers business domains such as transaction services, financial markets, lending services. So a big scope. I have teams in Amsterdam, but also in the shared service operation centers, because we believe we need to be close to the operations, and that's where we create the most impact. I think we're going to discuss more about the technology toolkit later on, but that's basically, in a nutshell, my introduction.
Oh, great. So give us a sense of what the journey how the journey started and what the beginning looked like. Maybe start with kind of the why, right? What was the initial problem statement and reason for you guys embarking on this journey?
Well, the initial motivation to hop onto this robotics process automation journey was partly the buzz in the market. So we started back in 2016, where it was pretty new and hot topic for the technology leaders. And ING is known for being the technology leader and pioneer in exploring and experimenting. We're never afraid of experiment and learn. So that's when we basically jumped onto the ship. But if you think about it, we were already doing something similar already 15 years ago. So we already had some kind of robotics in our call centers in the Netherlands, where we had robots basically handling requests coming in from clients and distributing the requests to different operators. So there were half robots, half operators, and there was even a spider robot basically who was orchestrating the request to some humans, some robots. So we were already doing a number of these things. Okay. But to really transform it to the terminology called RPA, we started in 2016 with the motivation definitely to automate as much as we can from the mundane work that we were doing. This was also the time we were exploring options to standardize and migrate a lot of our operations from the Netherlands, but also from our 42 countries to shared service operation centers. So robotics was basically found as one nice technology to instead of transferring work to shared service operation centers, why not try and find first to eliminate it? If it cannot be eliminated, then let's try and automate it. And for us, robotics is one of the automation framework. We also try to, if possible, automate it end-to-end straight to processing. But definitely, as we all know, it comes with its own set of challenges, automating end-to-end. That's why robotics initially started as a tactical solution. But now with advancement in this technology field, with the advancement that robotics offers, it is also seen as a nice partnered structural solution next to the other solutions that we have in place. For instance, Pega and Salesforce and everything. So it's been 4 years, and we're going strong indeed.
So give me a sense of what the stack looks like. Is it primarily RPA? Are you leveraging ICR, OCR, any AI machine learning elements?
Yeah. I mean, we started with pure RPA, and then we have evolved since then. So now our technology toolkit consists of RPA and natural language processing as well, so NLP, OCR, so optical character recognition, and translations. So we have a translation engine wherein we basically can translate from language A to language B, and then and of course we have RDA, so robotic desktop automation, and these are sometimes used standalone and sometimes in a combination depending on the problem statement.
So give me a sense of, are there one or two solutions or processes that you guys have built that are working particularly well? Anything kind of end to end, perhaps, that solved the problem?
Definitely. So let me give you one interesting example of a pure RPA process. And that is also where our journey started back in 2016 in the Know Your Customer domain, KYC, wherein we have today, I mean, it's been a while, but even today we have more than 4,000 people working on Know Your Customer department, wherein a lot of those are operations people, making sure that the customers that we are delivering services, that the customers of our bank are basically all legit and all the customers who they claim they are. So that's basically knowing your customers. And so we do customer due diligence every periodic in periodic nature. So for high risk customers, we do it yearly. For medium and low risk customers, we do it a little bit differently. So based on the regulations, and this is very, very important for us as a bank. But we spend a lot of time and effort into this, and we keep on exploring different technology options that can help us be more efficient and more accurate in finding the crooks. So robotics has been one of the biggest contributor to making KYC process a bit more efficient. So we have basically majorly robotized processes like name screening, in which we pick up a name of whether it's a customer, a direct customer, or whether it's basically a UBO, ultimate beneficiary owner of a company or director of a company. So when you want to do name screening of a client, when it's a retail client, it's basically the client. But when it's a corporate client, it can be either the directors, or it can be the beneficiary owners. So it can go basically hundreds of those names that you want to screen. You want to screen them in different platforms. We use VolCheck, for instance. You want to do adverse media screening. You want to do Google screening. So you want to go to different sources and do these screenings and collect as much evidence as you can about the customer from publicly listed companies or from Chamber of Commerce and everything. So it's a very mundane, heavy task that our operators have to do, but it's not something that cannot be written down into rules, because essentially what you're doing is picking up a name of a customer, going to different sources, collecting and gathering information, creating screenshots, and preparing a file that can be reviewed by an analyst later on. So this is something that used to take a lot of time of our operators and analysts, something that we have robotized, and very happy about it.
So any journey is got some road bumps along the way. I'm curious as to what were some of the challenges that came up during that process, and maybe if there were anything that surprised you or you didn't expect in that implementation.
Well, maybe not this one, but even this one. All these implementations, what you're doing is you're basically implementing a change, and change always comes with, or sometimes comes with its own set of resistance, whether it's resistance because of people or resistance because of the technology or so. So we have had faced resistance with robotics as well. Sometimes from the people who are going to actually benefit from the solution, because if once the robotic solution is implemented, they would not need to do these things manually, and then rather they can do something better. This has always been our pitch. However, for human nature, they kind of sometimes feel insecure, and they would kind of feel like not that supportive to the idea in the initial phase, in which we have to do a lot of education to these colleagues and explain them, and also get the management statement, because for us it is not about FTE savings. For us it is really about eliminating the mundane work and eliminating the type of work that kind of can disengage you. So really getting that information and information to those employees so they can support you in your journey. This was something that we have sold largely for big programs and rollouts that we start with one country and then we roll out in multiple countries, scale up. And this proves to be successful. Yeah, we try to do customer satisfaction scores before implementation of robotics and after implementation of robotics, and then people really see the difference of that. Yes, I used to do these repetitive things and disengaging things, not anymore. So I'm really focused on solving big and critical customer problems. So that's a shift.
Well, so you use the word pitch, right? As if you kind of had to sell it internally, right? So how did you do that? Because, I think probably the biggest thing that I always hear in these conversations is not so much a technical challenge, but a change management challenge within the organization, right? So how did you guys do that?
Well, indeed, it's really an entrepreneurial journey. So we started with basically a small team, many of them interns, just sitting across in a canteen, thinking and preparing the strategy of the CoE and all. And then it really has become mature from then. So as in this entrepreneurial journey, certainly you have to get the management buy-in. So that's something we did, and then we have to engage our directors to show them that this is the value that it brings. I think this kind of community, IRPA, but also a lot of vendors are helping in this sense, because creating a lot of buzz and hype around this and reaching out to different senior leaders is basically showing the importance of this in the digital transformation journey of organizations. And we are already working towards becoming a digital bank, of course, and we have been in pioneers in different fields. So getting the management buy-in, but also creating awareness across organizations. So what we do is we do throughout the year inspiration sessions on demand, but also routinely for different departments and domains within the organization, in which we kind of bring in the stakeholders who are already being benefited by the robotics solutions, and ask them to share their journeys internally. So it's really like internal conferences where we bring basically people who are using the bots close to people who would be enthusiastic and then could be interested into something like this. And then this sparks interest in them, but also sparks some kind of stimulate some kind of thought process to think in this direction of come up with ideas. So yeah, it's not necessarily a heavy sales pitch, but we try to engage all different stakeholders before we jump onto the implementation, because just building top down or just building something that an individual employee wants wouldn't make a big difference. Really, something we all need to get a buy-in from all different angles, accept the problem and work on a solution together. That helps us big time.
Yeah, I hear more and more organizations, even coming to us. We've launched a certified intelligent automation training program, and organizations kind of coming to us saying we want to use it for our own internal employees to help educate them and increase the level of adoption. So I think that's great. So you also lead the CoE for intelligent automation. So I'm curious, so many of the people I speak to are still very siloed, various different tools and different groups, different departments within the organization. So was that also the case for you guys, or what's prompted you to kind of create a CoE, and how's it going?
So CoE, indeed, again, learning from the industry, we recognized in the very early phase that CoE is the most logical way of implementing robotic process automation. So I think that's where we started with the global CoE, wherein the global CoE was implemented with local CoEs in different business units. So if you think about it, positioning wise, I am one of the local CoE leads. So wholesale banking is one of the domain, which is a local CoE. Similarly, we have retail banking in different countries being led by different CoE leads in those domestic businesses. And there is a global CoE lead who is basically doing the orchestration and coordination, and also providing the RPA infrastructure, the base infrastructure. So my scope is wholesale banking robotics, which could also be seen as a local team responsible for implementing robotic solutions across wholesale banking. But because of the nature of wholesale banking, which is already global and in 42 different countries with so many different business lines, we had created another layer of CoE. So we are another CoE with our wings into these countries. So we have a number of countries building their own bots. We have a number of units building their own bots. And we are also having centralized delivery and operations capabilities in the CoE. So we have this nice hybrid model in which we have centralized delivery as well as local deliveries. And then we decide based on case by case basis, where does it best, where is the initiative best suited to be implemented, right? If it is an initiative global in nature or with the potential to go global, then we pick it up in a global backlog and we implement it from our teams from the global CoE, basically, which is my team. And if it is a local initiative, if something is going to implement or impact only a local regulation in New York or for a small local process in Turkey, then we let them build their own bots. So they have, if a full-time team or a part-time team or a temporary virtual team just to build that particular initiative, we provide them the infrastructure, we provide them the robotics accounts and licenses, and then if in some cases also initial trainings to pick up the analysis and the development of the robotic business case. They do the job in supervision and consultation with my CoE, and we pick it up into production in a centralized operations capability. So we have a centralized operations capability in which we don't let the robots run scattered and fragmented. We bring all these robots into our own private cloud, and that's where they run unattended, most of them. And a central operations team from the CoE basically looks after all these robots in production.
So you're basically getting the benefit of kind of holistic best practices at a global level, but also and local experts, right? People that understand the local nuances, regulations.
Exactly, and that is. I think what we have learned also over the years, because it doesn't make sense to be very strict on your approach of, no, we want to do it central or we want to do it decentral. I think you need to have that flexibility so you can get the benefit of both, because there's no point in competing within the organization. I think it's just the logical decision making that we have to have in place, and then go from there, because there is no, my idea is that we shouldn't waste time into these administrative things. I mean, we are trying to reduce the administrative and mundane tasks for the entire organization. And so why create such things, such heavy things on our own processes, our own robotics implementation processes? Be flexible, be agile there, and empower people. So empower people in the locations, but also have a holistic approach. So we were also faced with a challenge while we were empowering our local capability buildings, so colleagues in countries to build their own bots, that sometimes it was seen as conflicting our standardization strategy, because we wanted to move a lot of operations to our shared service operation centers. But then when you are allowed to automate your own work, you are not doing it with humans, but you're doing it with machines. Now there was a question, well, why do we need to move this work when we are already doing it with the software? And so it can just remain in the ownership of the local unit. But then again comes the maintenance part of it, and then also the process standardization. But you still don't want to maintain processes locally, right? So that's why we have this CoE. The CoE scope is helping create and facilitate that the process selection and process intake part, in which if we see the process is global in nature or potential global in nature, or the process is a part of wave that is going to be migrated to shared service operations, then it is better suited in the global backlog. If it is purely a local initiative for one or the other reason, for technology, basically it's basically a very local technology hosted in a local cloud or a local server there, or regulation, then yeah, this you can go for a local implementation. But hardly any of those business cases or use cases would exist in longer term, because we are already working on bigger target operating models to really bring everything on cloud, on our own private clouds. So in those cases, the robotic initiatives could be seen as a technical solution, because then eventually we would have structural solutions replacing not only the robotics one, but the entire process maybe. So then we would basically get the benefit of saving the time that is rather put into by humans on those activities there, so they can rather focus on something which is more target.
Okay, interesting. So, Sudhanshu, what's next? What do you guys have on the horizon? What are your plans for the next year? Is it more around technologies? Is it more around additional processes and automations? Anything you can share?
Well, that's a question I keep asking myself, and that's why I'm talking to colleagues like you in a lot of different forums and learning from the experts. Also facilitating and then encouraging my own team to think bold. So yeah, what I have and what I had actually until last year was definitely to climb up that trend chart, wherein you want to keep on enhancing your technology toolkit and eventually go into that intelligent enterprise spectrum with basically having the systems all becoming smart and intelligent. That is certainly our moonshot, but the practical next steps are really to even standardize our technology solutions, because RPA, like we did with RPA, so we started RPA with multiple different solution providers, and then later on we saw the difference between platform A, B, and C is basically BMW, Mercedes, Audi. So it doesn't make sense to have all of them. Let's standardize them so we can always get the benefit of synergies. That's what we did with RPA. Now we have the same challenge with OCR. So we have an NLP. We have a number of different technologies that are being utilized across organization from different vendors. So I think that's the next thing for us to focus on and standardize on these offerings, because this is also becoming a bit more mainstream. There's not experiments or POCs anymore. But definitely always on a lookout for new technologies, always on a lookout for new products that can make the job be more efficient. But practically also to shoot up the utilization of the current deliveries that we have made. So what we notice is, and this is something that again another practical note that I shared while we implement an initiative, we say robots are there to be 24/7. Well, they are there, but we don't use them that much. And this is the value proposition that robotics offer, right? So that's basically what I want to get to utilize the the robotic process automation and intelligent automation to their next capabilities that they have to offer, next capacity as well. So really increasing the value realization from that angle, but also scaling up. So a number of initiatives that are built are basically with global potential, but also being used in limited scope for one or the other reason. So I think this year practically scale them up to be used globally. That would be next. And find newer use cases. So we have implemented the NLP and OCR not very recently, but say in the last 1.5 years with limited different use cases, and they've been proven to very successful. So idea is to find newer use cases, different use cases for these technologies, and maybe also experiment with some new technologies like speech to text to complement with the current toolkit that we have.
Well, it's ambitious, but I like it, and we'll leave it there because I think you're busy and need to get back to all of that. But I really appreciate you sharing your perspective, Sudhanshu, and hopefully we can get a chance to check in with you later in the year and see how you're making out.
Definitely. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks for being here.
All right. Cheers.